different model that is working reasonably well. So now these
Fuel
houses are
mileage.
sort of, right? Sort of, but that's basically what you're saying. That's what you're saying. How many miles per gallon, or how many, how many days per kilowatt hour am I getting from this house, right? So that's the difference.
And is there a movement to do Energy ratings for residential houses?
Not that I'm aware of. We've been talking, Keith Hansen from Sunridge, who used to do all the Energuide audits, of course, has this team of people all trained to do these things, so he's got a vested interest in this. I've had some really good discussions about that. I think it would be a good thing even if you just educated the realtors to make future buyers aware that this is something that's happening. The best thing would be you could get it as a law, like it is in Germany. I mentioned to some of you when you're coming in Hawaii, they've now made a code that you cannot sell a house without having solar panels on it, solar thermal. Their electricity is all generated by oil, very expensive, very risky, but everybody's got a solar panel, enough solar panels for 1.5 people per bedroom. You can't sell a house and you can't build a house without that on it. So eventually, in 7 years, if everybody turns over in 7 years, every house will have solar thermal, right? Pretty easy. Cost is very minimal, but the rolling impact of that is huge. And then what's happened is the cost of panels has gone down about 40% in the last year because everybody's got to do it, there's competition starting, and now they're actually manufacturing them on the island of Hawaii, which they would have never done before. So you say, what's the cost of that? It's probably zero, right? At the end of the world. At the end of the day, it's clearly a good thing to do. But our minds aren't quite there yet. Okay, a couple more slides and then we're done. So, if you got anything out of this, I hope these 3 points will stick with you. So, one, make sure you understand what decision you're trying to make. So in this case, it was pretty clear. We were trying to go between this and that. And I think if I would have just asked you which one you would have done, you'd have probably picked the LEDs, mostly because it's easier and it's something we all understand. This is a bit scary. We don't quite understand it. Do I believe it's going to be like that? It's easy. 60 to 10, you can do that calculation in your head. This one, I got to trust that report was done properly and that I'll actually save 1,385 kilowatt hours a year based on, different things. So I think most of us, our gut reaction would be go with the LEDs. Yet when we did the work, a little bit of work, it didn't take us long, we quickly saw that this was a better long-term decision. Right? Second thing is, how are you going to make the decision? So selection criteria, because we put ease of installation in there, that made LED look a lot better than it was even when it didn't win. Economic and the energy savings were the same no matter what models we're using, right? You can't change the energy. It's $11.85 a year or $13.85 a year for 50 years. That's how much energy you're going to save. But if you change your threshold on how long you're making a decision on, so the life of this thing is 50 years, but we're saying we're only going to have it for 7, so I'm only going to use 7. If you make that decision, then that can change your decision criteria. So you have to understand what your criteria are and how you're making the decision. Okay? So are we making a decision based on how long we think we'll be in the house or what's the best thing to do? I talk to people a lot about these LEDs because it's a big saver of energy inside the house. And they say, well, I'm not going to spend 50 bucks for a light bulb. In 5 years I'm gone. Well, if you feel that way, take them with you. Screw them out, put the damn incandescents back in when you move to the next place, and if that helps you feel better, but at least buy them for now and then you've got it, right? It's not that hard. Really hard to take this out of the wall. You just wouldn't do it, right? You wouldn't do it. You could take the LEDs with you, but you wouldn't take this. And finally, the economic decisions, if you hear payback, just sort of ask that next question, because it's not the right way to make these decisions. So you always hear payback, just ask whoever's talking, what do you mean by that? What's the, just a simple discussion, because often it leads you to the wrong decision. Whereas net present value, as you saw, is a very, it's a proven approach. It's not that hard to do. We did it in seconds, minutes, and it's very much the right way to make these decisions because we're actually looking at pure cash flows on the right timeline. Any questions?
Did you do that analysis with, say, insulation versus PV versus solar thermal versus triple glaze, etc.?
Yeah, we did it on just about every element of this house,
And
something like that.
how would you rank the things that were the best?
Insulation, bar none, wins. There's about $8,000 worth of insulation in this house, and the energy savings are $3,000 a year. You know, just from the insulation and windows. Well, insulation and windows maybe, and it's there forever. The insulation will be there in 50 years, right? Endless life, no maintenance.
What's next?
Probably when anything to do with the passive stuff seems to go first. I was surprised on this one, actually. This is actually a pretty good investment, as you saw, right? Who wouldn't spend $700, $800, or $1,000 to get, and it's not going to cost me as much to install it because I'm building new, so it'll be cheaper. But you know, this was a really good investment, which I was surprised at.
I thought when we talked to you the other day, and you were saying how much money one could save by super insulating the basement as well.
Well, yeah, I was really surprised when I did the modeling. I actually called Dumont on this because I was so surprised when I was doing it. I'm doing this for my thesis, so I'm actually getting into it. I hadn't done the basement for this house because it's not on a basement yet, so we hadn't really thought it through. But I did the calculation. I was so shocked. I actually called Dumont and said something's wrong. He said, no, if you don't insulate your basement, and we've all bought houses with basements that are insulated. My son just bought a house out here and it had no insulation. The house has been there for 40 years probably with no insulation in the basement. And Dumont's point is the ground is always colder than the room, and it's continually sucking energy out of your house constantly. So by putting R40 insulation in the basement, I actually got more savings than R40 insulation in the walls of the house, as amazing as that was. So, you know, things like that. But the point is, just think through it and ask the question, and there's someone that can do the calculation for you. So most of the passive stuff, the biggest single saving overall was the compact design. We had a 1,600 square foot house and we cut it down to about 13. You see no hallways and there's no walk-in pantry. The utility room is actually this little closet. We took the utility room up. We don't have a furnace, so we could put all of our utilities in that little closet, and that's over top of the stairwell, so it actually took no space. Things like that. So we reduced the cost overall of the house by about $60,000 with relatively small investment. Then the vapor barrier, the walls, since the sealing of the walls took quite a bit of effort. But I think the payback's big on getting a good vapor seal when you're building in, or if you're renovating, make sure you're getting all the holes. The last thing is, unfortunately, Brent won't like this, the last thing is the photovoltaic. It's a very expensive investment. The thermal is quite good. Well, Brent's done presentations on the thermal. It's a pretty good payback on that, right? On the solar thermal stuff.
Yeah, especially when you heat with electricity.
Yeah, yeah. So,
For the insulation, I understand what you're saying about how it's so good in general, but can you use your same formulas, or how do you determine what thickness of insulation?
Sure.
So how do you compare R100 to
Yeah.
110 or 120?
that's a really good question. So what we do, and Dumont taught me this, but we use a tool called Hot 2000. Anybody heard of it? So it's a modeling tool that you can pump in all these different changes and it forecasts what will impact on your energy costs. So for instance, with this house, we started and we said, okay, we'll use an R20 wall. What's my heat going to be? My heat loss going to be? Then you go to R30, R40, R50, R60. And what you find is as you add more and more insulation, the first time it goes, the savings are high, 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 and it starts leveling off. Right? As you get, you know, when you go from 20 to 30, it's a bigger saving than going from 50 to 60. It's less saving. So you just keep going until you get to a point in time when your net present value is zero. So if the cost of adding that insulation is less than the net present value of adding that insulation, you quit. And with this house, it was just under 60, so we went to 60. Just because it was easy number. Right? The ceiling we
is the
stopped
ceiling
at.
more important than the walls?
I thought it was, and again I was surprised, it's not that much more important. Like I could have probably, but it's so easy, it's so cheap to insulate the ceiling, so it's hard to say. You know, the cost per R value going up is very cheap, so. But I had to build special